We can't tell you who we are or where we live. It's too risky, and we've got to be careful. Really careful. So we don't trust anyone. Because if they find us, well, we just won't let them find us. The thing you should know is that everyone is in really big trouble. Yeah, even you. Welcome to the Morphathon.
I feel really bad because past me really dropped the ball because like most of my comments, I see a frowny face, Jesus a lot, with varying levels of underline. So
there are no actual, concrete roots to those
correct.
comments. It's just kind of like this stream of consciousness.
Yeah. So this is gonna be a disaster. But
no, I think that's okay because I have the events, you have the attitude.
that I do, and I can rant for days.
Great. So, the one thing I don't remember about how we do this is how we kind of start off, because once we get into, do we kind of want to just discuss spoiler-free our general feelings about this book and the series? It's been a while since, it's been several months.
Yes.
Since our last discussion of book 2.
So I think, in true ripping off bibliomancy fashion, did we read the whole back of the book, or just the little flavor text?
I think what we'll do, as we start getting meta about the structure here, is that I'll just, have the recordings of the intro text, basically, and that'll play at the beginning, and then we'll just kind of go into it, so we don't need to worry about it every time, I hope. Do you want to... Yeah, I mean, they're short. Let's just, while we're here, let's read through the back of the book, assuming you have it.
I sure do. This book is really sad. The paper, I wish there was video, because, it's been scotch taped, and the cover is kind of falling apart, and it's really, really sad.
Oh.
I'm so glad you have a digital version, because I was considering, scanning them, which would have taken fucking forever.
Yeah, no chance.
Okay, so I don't know if you're recording. Hopefully not, because I'm just sort of babbling.
Well, no, we are recording, but...
Oh, oops. Hi.
There's editing for a reason.
Okay. I'm happy to read this beautiful work of art. Okay?
Take it away, Caseface.
When Tobias, Jake, Rachel, Marco, and Cassie were given the ability to morph, they were also given one very important warning. Never stay in a morph for more than 2 hours. It seemed a small price to pay, since the kids know that humans everywhere are being forced to let slimy, spineless creatures creep into their brains. And the only way the kids can fight back is to not be human. But Tobias stayed in his morph too long. And now he's a hawk, with a boy's mind, forever. Tobias knows they can't give up, that they all made a promise. So now it's 4 kids and a hawk against a force that is determined to destroy them. Or die trying. Dot, dot, dot.
Yeah, book 3, The Encounter. Tobias.
I'm so glad I wasn't the person who titled this, because it just would have been book 3. Fuck! Look! Oh my god!
So, we are both aware that this got very serious and very dark very quickly.
I wasn't aware. I didn't remember this at all. I thought it got dark around, book 30-something.
Because this was a significant jump from the first 2.
Yeah.
Which were really low stakes. There was a lot of bumbling, and it was just a lot of time kind of, kicking about, doing silly stuff.
I mean, to be fair, there's still a lot of silly that I really appreciate. But...
I would call those more slapstick bad decisions.
Oh, bad decisions. I love that. That's my favorite part.
Oh my god. I have several notes about all of their plans are terrible.
Yes.
And we'll get into those plans later, but
That's gonna keep happening. I don't think they ever have a good plan. Ever.
no. And I think this was
No, I think
a little more
Marco has
serious in what happens when they realize they have a bad plan.
it. Yeah. Though I do remember, this was a big jump, but it also like sort of made me retroactively realize that the other two were darker than I thought, like in light of this one. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I think you want to hear my theory on that?
Go for it.
It's not exactly a theory. It's just the other two were Jake and Rachel, respectively, who were both really enthusiastic about this saving the world thing, and really excited by morphing and everything. And so that really shows in the narration. So even when it's serious things, they're all talking about these exciting aspects of it. Whereas this is Tobias, who's
Emo Hawk.
yeah, Emo Hawk, the less successful sequel to the 1980s film Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk is also in this. We'll
Yeah,
talk about
oh my God.
Hawk crush later. Finish your theory.
Anyway, just that this is the audience realizing consequence a lot more, and that really shows in Tobias's narration, how he's even saying everyone else doesn't really realize how significant this is.
Mm-hmm.
And I will firsthand show you multiple suicide attempts.
Oh my god.
So that I think was definitely we can
Good
look
point.
back at the other events and say, oh, these people do not realize what this Hawk Boy does.
He actually says something like that at some point, and I believe my really insightful comment was deep. It was, people are funny. They never think something bad will happen to them.
Yeah, there were a couple moments like that where it's going, it kind of takes a step back and goes very straightforward with talking at the reader.
Mm-hmm.
For this is morality that you should be taking from it, or something like that.
Yeah, I think at least now Tobias gets it. Obviously, he is emo Hawk. Marco gets that people die, which I don't think anyone else really does because they haven't had someone die.
Yeah, whereas
We're gonna
his
get
mom
into
just kind
that
of
more.
died randomly drowning.
Yeah, but the rest of them don't get anything. They're dumb, and it's one of the things I love about this series is how dumb they are. These are not special children. They're
No.
not especially smart
And
or kind.
they understand killing to a degree, but they also don't really get the full result of that. Like, I did copy down Rachel's line when she's talking to Bias of, she basically says, killing because it's your nature is kind of okay, but killing because you want power or control is evil. So she's already setting up in book 3, it's okay that we do this killing because, it's just.
Yes.
Because we're stopping these people who want power.
The desperate rationalization
Yeah.
of very guilty children.
And it's going to get more so, I think.
I'm so happy. But oh my god, this was so depressing. I have to admit, I tried. So when I was a kid, and I still do it, I try to get my mom to read things I like, which led to her reading a lot of shit when I was a kid.
Yeah.
God, I should apologize. She read Del Toro Quest. That was bad.
Never apologize for Del Toro Quest, Casey. You forgot who you're talking to.
Bad. But anyway, she read the first Animorphs book and then gave it back to me saying it was too violent and scary. I remember as a kid being like, wuss. And now I'm rereading them, I'm like, no, wait, fuck. I don't think kids get how messed up it is.
The brain of a child is very resilient, I think, in that it just kind of doesn't take most things in.
Yeah. I mean, so many things I did not get.
We weren't very introspective as a child, so.
Well, and we've talked about that with a series of unfortunate events where I'll be like, oh wow,
Yes.
this is way smarter. This is less like I'm picking up on literary references and like gray morality and just a lot more like it's so fucked up.
Yeah, I think that is a difference we can draw. Like, we can look back at Series of Unfortunate Events, like, oh wow, this is so much deeper. There are so many more ideas and, things being weighed here. Whereas these books are undeniably very shallow.
Mm-hmm. I think
It's
we will get smarter.
well,
But
no,
they
I
have a
mean
much
in that
simpler point. The point of these books is turning into animals is cool and war is hell.
yeah, and it
It
kind of
doesn't.
wears those on its sleeve.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really go beyond those.
No, I'm not
It
saying it
doesn't.
should, but like when you
Really
read over
well.
this, you're like, oh yeah,
But
this
no,
scene
yeah,
is showing this.
it's not weaving like 7 different narratives and a bunch of illusions and stuff. It's just like kids turn into animals and God, war sucks.
That being said, I do want to appreciate in this book, in a way that the other two I did not really get. This was really well paced.
It
In
was.
terms of like introducing plot elements, foreshadowing, kind of balancing things out. It was just well structured
Mm-hmm.
for something
And
that was so short as well.
yeah, I think that's really hard, especially with short books, to make it not like too rushed.
Hmm.
But also knowing they're all going to be fine because it's a children's series with another like 50 books. I was really like surprised at how tense the climax was.
Yeah, especially when you see there are
Fine.
so few pages left.
I know. It's like, wait, I'm getting caught up in it.
Oh, so that's great. Do we want to get started kind of cover to cover now? Or do we have more
Sure.
general feelings?
Um, I really want to talk about Lady Hawk, but
Well, we get
I
to
don't
start
rem-
with her.
that's kind of throughout the entire book.
Yeah, but the first scene is them, Tobias and Rachel rescuing that Lady Hawk from the car salesman.
And the salesman almost straight up murders Tobias.
Yeah, it's because he's a
Like-
bird trying to open a padlock with his beak.
And they're just like there's one point where like a mechanic's swinging a wrench at his head, and I'm like, oh my god, you're on TV. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus. I thought you were gonna like shoo him, but nope.
Yeah. No, also the fact that this was on TV is another reason that was a bad idea.
Everything about it was a bad idea. All of their plans are terrible.
All of their plans are terrible. So,
That's the third thesis. It's animals are cool, war is hell, all of their plans are terrible.
but they do it. They rescue the bird. Bird flies free. And this isn't really a setup for anything else. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
no. You know what it was? Because then we have, General Marco complaining about this. But then it's the next time Tobias is out looking for this bird. Because it's in her territory that he sees, like, the spaceship ripple, right?
Yes. I'm not sure he's specifically looking for her, but yes. I think he was
Yeah, okay.
bored.
Hmm.
Tobias is bored a lot.
Yes. But that's how we find out about this, like, kind of gradually revealed thing that the Yeerks have their supply ship coming down into a national park or something. The geography of this series is increasingly stranger.
Oh, yeah, no. So, from what I understand, somehow this town, which we find out in, like, the last book is in California, spoilers,
It has to be.
yeah, because it's, like, suburb. It doesn't seem to really have a city. It just
It's-
seems like a bunch of suburbs.
But it
and
has
then
a theme
having
park.
fun, a big forest, and then, like, a beach with boardwalk and theme park and everything.
Yeah, like amusement park zoo thing, but then they've also got these mountains that are like so far out in the middle of nowhere it has to be like the Rockies or something because this like land ship can just hover above it uncloaked.
Okay, they need access to a lot of different animals, Taylor. They need a little ecosystem.
So that's, yeah. And boy, do they get it.
They do. It's yeah, I don't think they ever say if it's like a national park, but I mean it must be because otherwise you'd think there'd be like
Yeah.
developers all over it.
There are park rangers. Fake park
Oh
rangers,
yeah,
but park
duh.
rangers. So we know it's something. Um,
Okay.
and that's
Hopefully
the...
it's a deserted national park, not like one of those parks where there are people.
Well, you
Ever.
know, it was defunded. No one can really go there anymore.
It was the 90s.
Yeah. So that's the primary plot, except that's kind of put on a back burner until the very end.
Yeah, no, that's sort of a thing with Tobias's books.
Is
That is
it?
why he is emo hawk. It will all be secondary to the emo. Tobias was like everyone's favorite character.
I guess. Yeah, memorable. Memorable.
And I mean, I think a lot of kids read this when they were starting to enter the emo stages,
Mm-hmm.
and so it really resonated.
Or rather, the kids who kept reading this, it
Hmm.
really resonated with.
That's true.
The
Oh
cool
yeah,
kids
if you
stopped
didn't
reading
read
it.
this, remember there was an alien and a bird, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
So, speaking back to this memory, I very clearly went back into this series with the memory that Tobias deliberately stayed in his morph. Because he did not want to be a human.
It's definitely hinted at.
It's kind of hinted at, but when you get to this, you very much realize this is not, like, again, emo hawk, but there's a lot more anxiety around this, existing
Hmm.
in a bird form forever that I do not at all remember.
I honestly don't know if we're supposed to take that as it was genuinely an accident, or he decided it was sort of on purpose and now he regrets it. I sort of feel like it might be, if it's at all possible, like somehow in the middle of those. Like he
Hmm.
didn't say, I'm gonna be a bird, but
I think we can agree he didn't want to be him anymore.
yeah.
Which is a very interesting thing to deal with in a children's series. Like, great.
Reading
But,
level 5. How
yeah.
old were we in 5th grade? I was what, like 10?
Yeah.
Yeah. Normal people were reading Harry Potter. Anyway.
You're reading this and Del Toro Quest.
Oh god, Del Toro Quest.
Mhm.
We should do a read through of Del Toro Quest, by the way.
After
can
we
cut that
finish
out. But
the
yeah.
50 million Animorphs, I do want to reread Del Toro Quest.
Oh, you're gonna be disappointed. It is not very good. I saved them for
No.
years. I was like, I'm gonna reread these. They're gonna be great. No.
But all
No.
the riddles. All the riddles.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
fine.
anyway.
Um,
Lady Hawk. So
yes.
this is the most. So this book tends to steer away from anything even vaguely romantic.
And yet it can't really escape that.
No. You basically they'll hint. They're a bit more obvious about Jake and Cassie. They'll hint at Tobias and Rachel, but in terms of attraction, this is about as obvious as they get, and I think it is somehow even more uncomfortable than the sixth Harry Potter book with like the dragon in Harry's chest or whatever.
What? I don't... What are you talking about?
Okay, so book 6, Harry, when he decides he's into Ginny, and like
Okay.
the last second, he describes his attraction to her as like a beast prowling in his chest, and like it growls when he's jealous and stuff. It's reread that book. It's really uncomfortable.
That's really uncomfortable for a 16-year-old boy.
It's weird.
To-
It goes to weird places, but
I mean, I guess when we think about it, he would have not had a very supportive environment for, like, a developing sexuality.
And I don't think Hogwarts' sex ed was very good anyway.
I
But
don't think so.
this actually was I guess it wasn't as bad as the beast in the chest, but
It was understated.
huh?
It was understated, so it, gave those elements of interaction and then let the reader kind of go as far as their understanding could take them.
Yeah, which I'm a perverted monster, so I went to Bird is horny and was really uncomfortable.
I mean, don't worry, I did too.
Oh, thank God, I'm not the only one.
But, a child wouldn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They just got this kind of really sad thing where it's clear that they were both kind of secretly attracted to each other and didn't realize it until one of them was a bird, and now they just can't really talk about it.
Wait, have we moved on to Tobias and Rachel?
Yes, but
I thought you meant he was secretly attracted to the bird for years, and I was really
Sorry,
But
no, I'm juggling I'm juggling this love triangle. I'm keeping it simultaneous.
okay.
I was
No,
thinking about
now I
Rachel,
gotcha.
yes. Um,
I think it's really cute, like, because she's all like, she's not butch, but like,
Wait, are we talking about the bird?
no, no, sorry, not the bird. Okay. The bird makes me uncomfortable.
Okay, the bird.
Tobias and Rachel are adorable
Yeah,
because
okay.
they don't make sense. And I love couples that don't make sense.
Because he's the outcast and she's kind of like the sporty femme.
Yeah, and he's very shy and soft-spoken and kind of like thoughtful and feminine and
She's the awkward dork who secretly had a picture of him in her dresser.
oh my gosh, I didn't even think that one through.
She didn't address. Because
Was it like a yearbook photo?
sort of. So this is when Tobias was kind of the first time he was very
Emo.
brooding and like basically having a breakdown of
Hmm.
I don't know who I am, I don't even remember what I look like anymore, and he kind of shows up at her room and she's like, oh, don't worry, and she pulls some yearbook photo of him out of her dresser drawer and it's like, no, this is what you look like.
Yeah, what were you doing with that on hand, Rachel?
He asked her, or perhaps he either said it or no, he totally said it, and she just doesn't answer.
Oh my
Just
gosh, I want to find it now. Is that before or after he tries to kill himself?
That's before.
Okay. That's how
Uh,
he plays it.
but I suppose we're to that point too, because this
Oh
is
yes, I
also
did not.
more or less right before he gets kind of like freaked out and stops thinking. I guess he's like,
He disappears into the hawk. Yeah.
yeah, he gets really hawky and goes and kills a rat and
Yup.
flips out. Understandably, like he
It's better than eating a spider.
yeah, I mean, Jake wasn't really that traumatized.
I guess I would prefer it to eating a spider, but
Yeah, fair, but
Tobias is more sensitive than I am,
and he
so
also couldn't turn back into a human, so he can't really distance himself from it.
that's true. And he's gonna keep doing it because it's better than cold hamburger.
Yeah, which, is really sad. Like, Jake's leaving him, legumes and
In the blanket and mashed
meatloaf.
potatoes, it's like, Jake. Like, I feel like at least Cassie should have taken him aside and been like, seriously, this is not the proper care of birds.
Why doesn't he go to Cassie's?
I
Where
don't
they're
know. I
equipped
think
for
it's
that.
kind of imprinted on Jake though, because Jake like saved him,
Hmm.
and he has like a little like crush on Jake.
He's just really emotionally attached.
Hmm. They end up, and it's going to become increasingly apparent, but they're quite like. This is a terrible word considering your horrible Jake Rachel theory, but they become a very incestuous little group. Like they bond in weird ways and don't like outsiders. And you can sort of see that developing now.
I mean, you can understand it all, but
Oh, of course.
it does start to be a thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to pass judgment, You know, what happens in the
He's
trenches
alright,
stays in
people.
the
Don't
trenches.
judge him.
And sometimes that's just cousin incest.
That is the most popular pairing in the fanfiction world. Is all of them? It's gonna end up being 6 of them living in a house together.
Yeah, no, we've definitely talked about that in the past episode, so I don't want to
Okay,
retread the
good.
same fanfic territory until we get to some new material,
Okay.
i.e. the Marco Axe pairing.
Yep. Anyway,
Yes.
okay, I can't find the creepy picture. I can't believe I did not save it. I'm so upset. Oh well.
Hmm.
Um,
But so he freaks out
mhm.
and goes to find Rachel, who's doing her yoga performance at the mall.
Uh, Gymnastics.
Gymnastics. It's weird. Is this something that made sense to you at the time?
I never heard of anyone having gymnastic exhibitions at a mall,
But
but
there's nothing else in this town apparently. Like,
there really isn't. There's the mall and the beach and the giant park.
yes. How do we approach this scene? Like, just in terms of order of
So
events.
I don't know if I'm just a profound, if I was a really, really stupid child, which it's entirely fair. I did not know he was trying to kill himself.
I actually had to reread the first half of this scene because he does have that, like, dive bombing the front glass doors, and only at the last minute does someone open it, and he's like, "Oh, I guess I'm inside now."
Well, he's very confused because like he's like half I want to talk to Rachel, but also like if the door doesn't open and I die, that's kind of okay too.
Yeah.
It, he's not suicidal as much as like ambivalent about suicide.
Well,
Like if
he
it
seems
happens,
more ambivalent to staying alive. It's more of a direct act towards collision that he's going for. Because it
mm,
happens twice.
yeah. Oh my God.
Because he gets inside, he speeds through the mall, um, like, finds Rachel doing her exhibition, and she starts screaming at him like a complete madwoman.
I thought that too. I was like, how does no one notice that she's talking to a bird?
Like, middle of a performance, she just jumps off the balance beam, shouting after a bird, and then just begins to cuddle it when it collapses onto the ground. Has a conversation,
Like you do.
yeah, and then it tries to fly off towards the glass roof and the ceiling.
Hmm.
Um, Marco appears out of nowhere.
With the baseball he happened to have.
Yeah,
Sure.
like, we never are introduced to him. It's just the fact that a baseball goes past Tobias towards the window, and he knows it's Marco.
I think it's because we know Marco was going to be there to make fun of Rachel, because that's the kind of
Hmm.
douchebag he is. But yeah, that
But, fine, it keeps the scene moving. And
is
the
really
glass
well done.
breaks, and Tobias flies through.
And slightly disappointed that he's still alive.
Really disappointed.
They almost have a conversation about it, but then they don't.
Yeah, when are you thinking of that for?
So it's after Tobias. Oh yeah, maybe I should wait. It's when he discovers the big boat, or not the big boat, the big ship, spaceship, and the person being chased by Hork-Bajir and decides that he wants to be human again.
Oh, yeah, because that was all that scene did. Because it's right after this, basically. He's brooding around the woods, and then he finds the random hunt of that person.
And the way it's described is like a serial killer. It's freaky.
Okay, I did not.
Like, it was just, the prey was running awkwardly on its 2 legs. So, kid immediately
Mm.
knows. I keep imagining myself as my little 10-year-old self, and I realize it's a human, because duh.
Hmm.
Running and threading its way through the underbrush. It stumbled and hit the ground hard. It seemed very slow to get up. It ran again. I could hear gasping breath. It was weakening. The prey was squealing, loud yelping vocalizations. Prey often squeal. I'm like, Jesus!
Yeah, because that is, I think that was an effect.
I guess if you're already being chased by a horrifying, like,
Lettuce monster?
reptile knife monster, like, you've suspended disbelief to a point where Talking Bird is just like, alright, sure, my day's not gonna get any weirder.
It's kind of like a
Oh, but it is then he goes and Rachel's kind of pissed at him because he went AWOL, which is fair. But she says, but what were you going to do if Marco had missed with that baseball? You would have hit the glass awfully hard, which is a very gentle way to put it.
Yeah.
And he just said, I didn't know what to say. And then she starts, like, petting his boobs. And it's cute.
Yes.
But, like,
she strokes his crest, which he describes as uncomfortable, but kind of pleasurable too.
yeah, that's the closest they get to action, I think.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that it was physically
I
uncomfortable.
know.
He was emotionally uncomfortable with it, but it was also kind of pleasurable, he said.
I mean, I like it in that, again, it shows, like, they really, the books, one thing I really like about Morphing is it's not like he just puts on a bird suit. It's like the bird is in there.
Yes.
And it kind of has to overpower the bird brain.
In
But, like,
order
the
to
bird
get
will be
some
there.
heavy petting.
What?
I said in order to get some heavy petting, he needs to overpower the bird.
Boo! Boo! I'm sorry, that's the end of this podcast. We have ruined it. We have nowhere to go from here. But yeah, no, I think
It
they
was an
really,
accurate description.
she doesn't. I understand why Rachel didn't want to say, you could have died, were you trying to die? But they really sort of tiptoed around it. It was very uncomfortable for me to read.
Yeah,
Not a criticism, just noting. And then she starts petting his boobs.
yes. And that's kind of the end of, well, except for the very end, that's kind of the end of that sub-story.
Yes, except for minor bird crush, basically.
It's tied into the complete end, but we have this arc of him being very unhappy, depressed, and suicidal, but helping that person. He does the thing where he's saying, yes, this reminds me, I want to be a human mind, I want to be part of this, which I thought was effectively dealt with in this story in a very short amount of time.
And I think, like, they all have, and it's going to be continually explored, so I'm trying not to spoil, but, like, they all have reasons they're in the war, and they'll become more developed throughout. But I like Tobias's a lot. We find out really early, like, he has to do this, because otherwise he'll lose, like, himself.
Yeah.
Again, it's dark, but it's like, that's really good motivation.
It does make for interesting characterization. And it's a really nice touch to have that in there from the start. Of, this is a character who understands things at a different level than the others.
Yeah,
So it does anchor the hijinks a bit.
Yes. And it gives a bit more stakes. Like, we know they could die, but we figure they're probably not, because, again, like, a whole bunch of books.
Well, I think it raised the stakes a lot more in the second half.
Yeah.
Because he's not part of, like, there's everyone else doing the same thing, and then there's him. So we get to kind of observe this thing unwinding, or, yeah.
Traveling.
Yeah, basically. As it just gets really, really bad, because they have the idea, we discover that they're gonna, hike out to this, lake where the Yerk ship is, like, picking up water and oxygen. Do you want to describe this plan?
They're gonna camp out in a cave go fishing, turn into the fish.
Yeah, they need to catch the fish, which they didn't really plan on in advance.
I love that they couldn't do it, by the way, that it took forever, and the
So
plan was almost ruined by the inability to catch a fish. That's just hilarious.
it is, but doesn't, like, none of them think of this?
No, because they're kids. They're 13.
Oh my god.
The only, like, experience they have with fighting evil is, like, the really shitty 90s video games and comic books where things are exactly where you need them when you need them.
I would also like to say they talk about branded products in this because they talked a lot about Doom.
Yes, actually, the publishers, like Scholastic, tried to re-release the first couple books,
Mm. The
genericizing.
updated ones you were saying, right?
Yes, they basically cut out all the brands and the 90s-ness,
Wow.
which I think is a waste because I think the 90s-ness is part of its charm.
I think so,
But
yeah.
yeah, and I think most people agreed because they did not sell. They printed like 5 of them and then gave up. But
So yes,
no, that is one
they need to
thing.
catch the fish.
And then turn into the fish.
Yes.
Then
Have
hang
someone...
out as humans
Yeah.
in the cave. Then the plan, I guess, was to wait for the ship to come, then walk to the lake and turn into the fish without being noticed.
Really subtle. I have
And
no idea how they all agreed to that, if I'm honest.
I,
Even Marco wasn't even criticizing that part of the plan. He was saying we shouldn't be doing this at all, not this is really obvious and we're all gonna die?
yeah, it is, again, it's one of the things I do really like about this story, this series, and they will consistently, they'll get slightly better at planning, but they're still the plans of children, and you can tell that this is not super well thought out.
It's really frustrating. I feel like a parent.
Yup, yeah, yeah, no,
But when
that's
I honestly have to say, that's not even the dumbest part of this plan.
go, yeah, no,
Because
but
we
then,
discover that once they do get to the water and turn into fish, their idea is to just be sucked up into the ship and then somehow assume there's a way out of the tank where they are being held.
yes,
Which makes no sense.
they would also like to, I think, try to kill everyone on board, and
Just
then
like,
figure out how to fly the ship, get
like,
it over the city, and then turn off the cloaking.
yeah, that's their whole plan.
I don't know how much they assume they're going to get out of this alive, but if they do, that is astoundingly optimistic.
I am actually, what I will say about this plan is that I'm really pleased that it goes exactly how it should.
It didn't just work.
Yeah. So the first conflict is that,
They can't catch a fish.
yeah, Visser 3 shows up with his extra guards, because obviously we need, and
The big bad, yeah.
yeah, technically it's because Tobias saved that random person, so they're on the lookout and they're guards, and we're like, Tobias, you're making this worse, but,
I liked that. I liked that there were consequences to that happening.
At the same time, even if there weren't extra guards, this wouldn't work
Oh,
anyway.
of course not. It's a terrible plan.
But their solution is to have them turn into fish in the cave, and Tobias fly them out one by one and drop them into the lake. The
And no one
complete
notices.
reverse of how a bird hunts.
Yeah.
Oh yes, let me catch this ground trout and release it into this water so that it will drown, and I can claim its body and go eat it. And multiple patrols are completely fine with this bird flying out of a cave with a fish.
See, I thought that, like, maybe the fish was small enough, it was hidden in his town, so they might think he's trying to catch fish and failing. But there's one point where the Hork-Bajir, like, they mention the Hork-Bajir sees him with the fish.
Yes.
So it's like, no, they already
vaporized
know
a
how the fish-
deer for existing. Why would they let the bird go?
Oh, no! Don't think about it too hard.
They made a note of pointing out how they shot a deer for just standing around.
Yeah.
Okay, but somehow he does it. He makes 4 trips, and we get, like, lavish description of people turning into fish,
I would
which is
just like
not
to
pleasant.
say, I wish the book covers showed how horrifying morphing was. I realized that they did not have, like,
They
the
could never. They
graphic
could never
skills,
show this.
and no child would ever pick the book up, but I wish it looked like it did. It would be horrifying. It would be R-rated.
I would
Like,
throw up on sight at the description. Like, Cassie is described as like the most graceful of their morphers, and she even like shrinks down to like 2 feet with these like tiny doll hands where her arms were,
oh, and she's like slimy, and
and choking.
it's so gross.
I do appreciate that this recognizes being a fish is not fun.
No,
I don't
no, I
think
don't
fish are
want
happy.
to. I do have to say, just bouncing back, because
Mhm.
why not? When they were half trapped as wolves, that's the
Oh,
kind of thing I can't believe did not give baby Casey nightmares.
I completely forgot about that scene. Yes, because they were scouting this location out as wolves, and then they like reach the 2 hour mark and are like trying to morph back, but they're stuck.
Yup.
Oh my god. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like Rachel's human hands appeared at the end of her wolf legs, but nothing else seemed to be changing. Marco, his normal head emerged with startling suddenness from his wolf body, but the rest of him had not changed. He looked down at
It's like
himself
a
and cried out in terror.
Transformers figurine.
Hello, give me a... It was an awful sound, half human, half wolf. I'm like, oh my god, that's awful.
See, that's the sort of scene they would have in a like parody of this to show like the actual body horror, but no, it's in book 3.
Yeah.
You can't over dramatize this with like the body horror because it's very very deliberately like fleshed out.
It's disgusting, and I kind of love how much you can tell Applegate enjoys writing it.
It's
Like,
true. Because
how has
every
this woman
change she
never written
gets,
a horror novel? Like,
she doesn't just like anytime they morph, she doesn't say, and you know they morphed quickly or something, and you know she doesn't skip over it. With 100 pages, she is determined to spend 10 of them describing like horrific cracks of bones and like shifting.
your knees reverse, and then
Yeah, like she's like, oh, it morphing doesn't hurt. Like it's kind of like being on anesthesia. You like feel your body changing, but it doesn't.
it's almost worse.
Yeah, but it's very loud.
And
I
you're,
think that's worse
oh, yeah, oh, that's disgusting.
because like cracks and everything are a lot more visceral to a reader, I think,
Mm-hmm.
than someone just saying I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Like not instead of saying, "Oh, I felt my fingers break," I watched my fingers like snap backwards or something like that. You know, just the disconnect is horrifying.
I do, with our technology, I want to see someone make that happen. I want to see it with my eyes and know that I will never be able to unsee it. Because I am apparently a masochist. But I want that horror ingrained in my eyeballs.
Oh god.
Anyway, so,
Yeah, yeah,
I can't
anyway.
wait till they start turning into bugs. You're gonna love it. Anyway,
Oh god.
so they're fish.
Yeah, they're fish.
Not
That
sucked up.
somehow works. They all go up the, water tube. You know, Rachel comments, this is tremendous suction. Very excited about it. The
They're
best
having
suction.
a great time until it all goes wrong.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Tobias is like, this is a terrible, terrible idea. And he's just watching Lady Hawk, who lives by the pond,
Mm-hmm.
as she's kind of watching him. I guess that's where we get the other, it kind of returns to that, where he's like, I knew she wanted to go with me.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if, he's like, I don't know if Red Tail Hawk's made for life, or for a season. I wasn't quite ready for that,
He's
but I was
considering Hawk
thinking about
married.
her. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's
No,
like,
I do want to look up and see. I wish I'd done it earlier if hawks actually do pair bond.
well, he even said no one knows. I should say,
Oh, okay.
like, he was bringing a lot of non-hawk knowledge to this. Like, Cassie
Okay,
propped
other
up a
people.
book on birds for him, and he just kind of flipped through with his talons.
Yeah, probably his beak, but
Yeah, okay.
do red-tailed hawks mate for life? Just want to say that was the first Google result. Oh, they are monogamous
Oh,
and may mate for life. We don't know.
okay. But I do know that they live for about 25 to 30 years, because that's something I looked up. Like, how soon is Tobias going to be dead?
Yeah, that's something that doesn't get touched on, I don't think, all that much because really, like, I think 25 years, both when you're 13 and when you're fighting a war that you should not ever, like, you should die the first battle, they don't really think that far ahead.
Yeah, I was actually like, oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah, at least,
You're living longer than most people on this team, so.
yeah. But, yeah,
It,
no, he's gonna die.
yeah, it did actually
Uh,
remind me of The Witches.
the Roald Dahl book?
Yeah, in which. I don't know if you've read The Witches, or.
I read like bits of it. It freaked me out as a
It's
kid.
very freaky. The movie is as well. And one of the reasons for that is because the main character is turned into a rat by this witch, and even after he kills the witches, he doesn't turn back into a boy.
What?
And there is a fully dealt with conversation um, with his grandmother that he lives with, and who he's like solved this with. Like she
Okay.
helped kill the witches, where he acknowledges he's only gonna live for at most 10 more years.
Oh my
But
gosh.
he says he's perfectly okay with that because he wouldn't have wanted to live without his grandmother.
Oh my god.
And that's the end of this children's book.
Oh, thank you, Roald Dahl, for always letting us know it could be worse.
So yeah, Tobias doesn't have it so bad, is what I'm saying. Um,
Roald Dahl goes there.
yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, the hawk gives him the come hither eyes, but he stays on mission.
Right.
And then promptly discovers what, we both knew was going to happen, and that the party now has no way out of the tank of water.
Yes, because why would it?
Exactly. Like, it's basically should be hooked up to. It doesn't need to be distributed to this ship. It just
Hmm.
goes to the mothership.
Yes.
So there's no reason for them to need to access this tank.
I do have to say, in addition, in part of our let's freak out over how horrible Visser 3 is, there
Wonderful.
is a bit where he kills a Hork-Bajir that tried to shoot Tobias and then missed and hit the big ship.
Yes.
And it does say, I turned away. I won't tell you what was happening to the Hork-Bajir. That memory will be my own private nightmare. And I'm just thinking, that just made me laugh. I was like, you've shared plenty. Thank you for
Yeah.
sparing us
I'm
this
like,
one.
you're just saving time right now. This isn't anything about. Like, we've witnessed that before. We don't need to. Don't
That's
need to
true.
dwell.
Yeah, we've already seen loving descriptions of like,
The Texans,
ugh.
Hungry
That just
Grubs.
made me laugh. I was like, okay, so that's where the line is
Yes.
for Tobias. Okay. He rips out, I think, something's eyes earlier in the book.
Um, I don't know. I don't remember eyes, but he's definitely. Oh yes, the Hork Bajir that's chasing the person through the woods. He definitely like tears apart its eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um,
this is the line Tobias won't cross. So thanks
mhm.
for that. We got one. Anyway, so it all goes bad, and basically the kids decide we're gonna turn into our party morphs, which are the ones that kick the most ass, and
Mhm.
try to go out fighting.
Which is weird because they already said there's no way out. So they're like, we're gonna wait for them to find us if we
There's a
don't
great,
drown.
and I'm guessing the plan was like to turn into something strong enough to just like punch through it.
They never got that far. No. If that was their plan, they would have, like, they tried to do that, basically, and said they couldn't manage it.
I thought that was as humans.
But they're not really worried about subtlety now. It's just the fact they had no way out of that tank.
Yeah.
Which is, for me, I'm like, yeah, I knew that it's exactly what was going to happen, and now you're a step from a suicide pact. Because
Yeah.
Rachel's like, calls up Tobias on the brain phone and is like, we don't want to be taken alive. And he's like, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna, die hard these aliens right now.
That was a bleak moment. That was very
Yeah.
like end of Toy Story 3 like.
Yeah, like, they're all just staring the incinerator in the face,
Yup.
holding hands, and I'm like, Jesus. That's when I realized this is book 3.
We are just getting started. Don't
Yeah.
worry, there'll be some really, really stupid ones in there too. Oh.
However, the solution to this takes about 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Because in his standoff with the or the Taxons that don't want to shoot him while he's landed on this ship, because then they hit their ship.
Which, way to go, Tobias. I would not have thought of that. I'm
Yeah.
so glad I'm not an Animorph, because I would have died immediately. I am not as smart. Even though we're talking about these terrible plans, I'm not as smart as these kids.
Yeah, like in the moment they're pretty resourceful. Other than that, he somehow wrestles a gun away from them.
Yes.
Claws his way up an ascending ship. Like, it's weird. He couldn't outrun it, so we have this comical image of like a bird clawing up the side of a ship.
Oh my gosh, wait, that's what he did? I thought he was flying for some reason.
He was, but it was going too fast, so he landed. And then it proceeds to describe him like pulling himself the last few steps.
Didn't that happen in like a Die Hard movie? Like a moving train or something?
This is like full Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. Like it's gone beyond Die Hard.
Yeah. It worked for me, though, I have to be honest.
There are worse things because then somehow while holding on with some of his claws, he shoots this gun with his other claw and like lasers through their entire bridge.
Yeah.
Which then sends this ship, crashing to Earth. No one's aware. Like, no one ever picks up on it. Like,
No.
a spaceship smashing into the side of a national park. Like, no one...
But the park rangers cleared it all out, so now no one knows that park exists.
They're maybe, like, 60 miles from their town?
Shh. They cover it up. Don't think
People
about it
would
too
have
hard,
seen
Taylor.
it. It's terrible. Anyway. And then everyone jumps out of the
it's so
ship
cool.
that's now been, like, cut open, and they turn into birds and fly away.
Which, something that no one will notice but me, but continuity error, Marco never turns into a bald eagle again because he has an osprey morph. So, way to get that wrong. I knew. Hey, Applegate, you just got super fanned.
Wow, you're right. It even says at the beginning that he's an osprey, doesn't it?
Shame.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't back that up, so I'm not gonna buckle
One
down on that.
continuity change that was way for the better. I don't remember if it was in the second book, but it was in the first, where they could like thought speak as humans, and they can't do that anymore. And it was such a good decision to make them not able to do that anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Because I've already forgotten whether that even happens in the first books, but I do remember us talking about it. So it is a thing. They can no longer do that. It keeps things more tense.
Yes,
A little more interesting.
absolutely.
Except this book isn't dark and sad enough, because when they're escaping, and the remaining gunships are chasing after them, Lady Hawk takes flight and looks exactly like Tobias and gets shot.
Yup.
It's like the end of an anime.
That's really good for him, because I think... Do the Yerks think he's dead now?
No, they don't really have any reason to believe that they did succeed, but, they weren't taking chances. I think they were just shooting everything.
Okay. Just because
Hmm.
you really quite literally took the bullet for him.
They also don't know that he's stuck in the bird morph, so
Right.
there's no reason to assume that um, birds are no longer to be distrusted. Or
They must think Tobias is really stupid. Like, who's this dumb Andalite that keeps showing up in the same morph? Why wouldn't you pick a different bird? Anyway, sorry,
yeah,
that's not
yeah.
super relevant, but
You're really ruining the dramatic moment of Lady Hawk going down and a spray of blood and burnt feathers.
my thing was like I was out of feelings.
Hmm.
I thought the other Animorphs were gonna die. I don't care about the bird, which makes me feel really bad because then the very last scene of this is a whole conversation about how what makes you human is caring about things and caring
Yeah,
about the bird, and I'm like, well, shit.
it's
What does that make?
sadness rather than just being aware of its death.
I'm just aware. I am a
Right.
hawk.
You are a hawk. I think it was an important step because I think the love triangle of Tobias, Lady Hawk, and Rachel would have gotten old pretty quickly.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Um,
That I'm really glad about.
but this is also like a really well chosen moment for like just plot arc
Hmm.
because he already made the personal decision that he wants to be a human. This is like the death of that existence he could have had as a hawk, which mindless, but it's safe.
And simpler, yeah.
Yeah, you just give in, and you don't need to be a part of this world. You don't need to be part of this war. Um,
And I also, and she's never, I don't think she's ever, Rachel, I mean,
mhm.
fully supportive of Tobias as bird as well as person, but I do think this was a good moment where she wants to try to be there for the
Mhm.
bird, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but
Like she
she's
sort of bridges.
like she does. I noticed that she offers to go back and find the bird to give it a funeral because she knows like however weird of a way it is that that Lady Hawk mattered to him. And
Hmm.
she's like, okay, I kind of want to be supportive about my weird hawk boyfriend's crush. Um,
This book is so weird. It's so ridiculous. You can't explain it to people.
no, I know, but she's also still um, naively convinced that the Andalites are going to come and give a solution and win the war and turn him back into a boy, and then they're
Hmm.
going to live happily ever after.
Yeah. Oh, they still have hope. It's so
Yes, and
beautiful.
she very specifically has hope about him not being a bird forever, and she's like, okay, I can deal with this kind of
Oh.
long distance situation with him. Um, because she's not saying, oh, he's a bird forever and that's something he and I need to deal with. She's like, this is just a thing we need to cope with for now.
Yeah, it's a temporary burdening.
Yes,
Yeah.
rather than a bird apocalypse, if you will.
Birdemic.
Yeah, yes.
Um, I basically don't have much to say except line that was way better as an adult than as a kid. She looked terribly sad. She's very human, my friend Rachel. I was just like,
Hmm.
it's
The
really good.
wisdom beyond his years, because kids
Hmm.
don't really think about what kind of defines us as being human. We don't think in the terms that the end of this book was asking questions. I don't think I was ever wondering that same sort of like that isn't a view I was carrying
Oh yeah, no,
in any
not at
way.
all. So closing thoughts?
Um, Kind of a closing question to raise. It was something I was kind of going through because we have even in book as far as book three talked a lot about how a major purpose of this book is war is hell,
Hmm.
and it's supposed to show the darkness of that. And these characters are in their own way child soldiers. Well, like literally they are child soldiers.
Yes.
In terms of context, as we know child soldiers, not exactly. because
Right.
they routinely have the option to walk away from it all.
They also don't have anyone telling them what to do. I think
Exactly.
both the ability to walk away and having to call the shots and make their own very, very stupid plans
Hmm. So
adds an extra layer.
they're hopping back and forth between the world of being children and being adults. And that's something that they're navigating, existing in both of those
Right.
realms.
Wake up, go to school, save the world.
Yeah. What I want to question is, this was specifically about the Hork-Bajir, but are the Hork-Bajir and the aliens under your control a more apt analogy for child soldiers as we understand them in our own world? Which are brainwashed children taken from their homes, and forced into these situations where they no longer have any ability to, recognize morality or question their actions. That is their world. And I'm wondering whether the Yerks offer a parallel to what has happened to this, as we understand it, very peaceful race of Hork-Bajir.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it like that. I guess.
And on its own, that's kind of an obvious statement. Like, we know these are unwilling participants in the world, but I thought placing them up against the Animorphs themselves is a very interesting parallel, because there aren't really analogies. Like, these are very different situations from the start.
Hmm.
Both are being used, but the Animorphs only in an emotional sense by the Andalites. They have been placed into this where they think this is their only option.
Yes.
And they think that they are fighting side by side the Andalites rather than
The Andalites.
effectively abandoned by.
The Andalites are such dicks.
Absolutely. So, as we go further, I'm going to be thinking about that. I'd invite you to as well, because I'd like to hear your thoughts about it as we get in deeper into this.
Definitely, especially as we, again, trying to be as spoiler free as possible, we will get deeper into the mind of a controller.
Mm-hmm.
And gotta say, it sounds really shitty, obviously, but
Yeah, but from what we've seen so far, it is very a multifaceted representation, because it's trying to use the word with air quotes, humanize
mhm.
many of the Yerks with
Except the
their.
Texans. No one likes the Texans.
Well, yes, but if I remember what you've told me, they also do that.
They do, yes.
So it's giving the context for all of these. This is a series that's really careful about its xenobiology,
Hmm.
because it introduces all of these things that are innately horrifying to humans, and giving a context for their existence, for how these aren't machines to kill us.
Hmm.
They had completely separate, normal existences outside of, like, our code. It's like, oh, the Hork-Bajir used it for eating bark, or the Taxons are just naturally hungry, and this is something they've come to terms with.
Hmm.
But it's a way to weaponize what is not inherently evil. And the Yerks are kind of being set up to be that way as well, except for Visser 3, who's just a jerk.
Oh, Mr. 3. He's he's my favorite.
Yeah, I heard you kind of swooning there for a moment.
He's so dumb.
It wasn't exasperation, it wasn't hatred, it was like, oh, I've got a picture of them up on my wall. I've got
I
all of his
do.
hit
Well, not on my
singles.
wall, but I do have a picture saved of him with kittens because Visser
Yes,
loves cats.
that
But
picture.
no, it's just that Visser is a buffoon, and
Hmm.
we're supposed to be afraid of him, at least definitely for now, and maybe because he's so stupid, that's part of what makes him so dangerous.
He is the stereotypical kids movie villain.
Yes. There's a point where in this book where he's like, I am patient. And I just wrote, ha, no, you're not. You liar. But yeah,
Yes,
now so it's getting dark.
it
And
is.
next book we get to meet Axe. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
is it? I thought it was later in the series. I thought it was closer to like book 6 or 7. Okay.
Shit, cut that out. I'm sorry, edit that part out.
No.
Ugh, alright. But yeah, I would like to explore that, and also how the aliens sort of hold up different, slightly horrifyingly shaped mirrors to humanity.
Hmm.
Yeah, just
Though
look.
that's definitely something we're getting more into. Um,
So yeah, I'm done. I want to say this is my favorite of them so far.
Absolutely.
This is the first one where I really felt like, okay, we're starting to get beyond a kid's book.
Yes.
I mean, it's still very obviously a kid's book, and it will remain so, but
It dealt with a lot of complex ideas in a surprisingly mature and well dealt with, like, well, structure, pacing, ideas. It didn't really shy away from things. It said it all in clear, understandable ways. It
yeah,
succeeded. It succeeded at its goal.
it was a good one.
Yeah, all right. In that case, I definitely look forward to 2 weeks from now getting
Yes,
back.
definitely. I'm gonna try so hard to stick to this, and I will. I'll make it happen. You have to guilt me into it, but I'll do it.
I I'm struggling just as much as you are, so I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
Through mutual support, but
Yes.
there's no judgment on you, and hopefully not on me if we need to move a week or something like that. But
Mhm.
these take so
Yeah.
little time to read when you actually just sit down for 2 hours.
Mhm.
So
2 hours,
I,
and then we'll be trapped. I don't. That's not even a joke. That's just a thing I'm saying. We've been doing this for too long, and now I'm out of thoughts.
yeah,
My brain's just vomiting words. So I should probably leave. But
directionless references. Yeah, okay,
yeah,
but in that case, Casey, it's been a delight to get back to this. I will see you next
it's been a
time.
lot of fun. See ya.